And then the other thing was, again, I'm going to embarrass him, and he will deny this. He is, but those of you who know him know it's true, that he is such a good man. And when I talked to his wife about this some years ago, one time I asked him, so what is your besetting sin? And because, you know, there are not too many people that are just really good. And, well, I noticed this. I don't know about y'all. So he said, well, I guess some people would say gluttony. And you look at him and you see that's not it. When he eats, he really focuses on what he's eating. He enjoys it. But then I talked to his wife, Miss Ruthie, about this, and I said, you know, he's just such a good man. And her response to that was, yes, it's wonderful, and he doesn't even know it. And that, I would agree with that.
He came on special occasions, Christmas and Easter, and weddings of friends and family and so forth. And of course, I had his funeral, and I also officiated, we mentioned a moment ago, Richard, Dean Faulkner Wells. I officiated at her wedding. And he, Mr. Bill served in as the father. He gave her away at that time. Anyway, there are a lot of those connections that go back, but I'm deeply indebted to Araminta, and I really don't think I should be here, Araminta. Which would embarrass you.
You didn't know I was going to embarrass you that much if you didn't know that. He would have been here.
But anyway, as she said, I told her that she had taught me some things I didn't know about myself. My history, there's one chapter, those of you who have read the book know there's one chapter on genealogy in there. And she goes back into the French side of my family. Now, I knew a lot about all the McCrady's and the Grays and those, but she talks about the Fuquays and the Berniers, and I had known those names. And in fact, the relative out in Texas who sent me all those things was named Fuquay, but I just frankly had never read them.
I was at church with friends that Sunday evening, and I don't know if I really knew that anything was, you know, again, 13, there was anything about to happen, but I guess I must have. But some of you probably remember Mimi Strickland. Mimi was, and her family were members of St. Peter's also. And so whenever EYC was supposed to be over, my mother came and picked up me and Mimi, and she was going to take Mimi home. But then she said to us, now you know, there's something historical that's about to happen on the Ole Miss campus. And she knew that, you all may remember that Mimi's mother was French. And you may or may not have known that, I guess this is probably when she was a teenager, but she had some involvement in World War II with the French resistance. And she would tell Mimi about this. And, you know, we were typical teenagers, and Mimi was sort of like, oh, Mom. And my mother was aware of Mimi's reaction about this. And so she said, you know, something's about to happen out there. This was probably about maybe 6 in the evening. And she said to Mimi, you know, I want you to see this, because, you know, then you'll tell your children someday about this, and you'll see what, you know, when your mother is trying to tell you about history, you'll see what it's like. And so Mother was teaching in the English department out there at the time. And so we did. We drove out to the university. We drove around the circle. You know, we headed back to town and back to take Mimi home. And at the time, you know, it was like a, you know, big football game was coming up or something. It's kind of like, you know, there were a lot of students around. I don't remember, and Bishop Gray may remember and know, but it seems to me that early in the evening, you know, there were just a bunch of students. Y'all, again, some of y'all remember panty raids. It was like a panty raid was about to happen or something. They were just, And I don't remember seeing outsiders, strangers that early in the evening, but maybe Bishop Gray can, whether that early, because it was a little bit later, I guess, when you went out there.
President Kennedy was scheduled to speak that night about the homeless crisis situation, the admission of Mr. Meredith. And I went over to the house of Bill and Liz Willis. Any of y'all remember them? He was a Greek professor at the university. Anyway, classics, I should say, classics department. But went over there and their TV wasn't working. So we got up now. The reason I'm mentioning all this because that speech was scheduled for 8 o'clock. So this puts the time in place. And we went over to, you've heard of this fellow, Jim Silver's house. And we found out that Jim was not there, nor was his wife, but Nolan Fortenberry. I'm saying all these because some of y'all will remember these people. Nolan Fortenberry, who was also a member of St. Peter's, was there. And we turned on the television and watched the TV, watched the speech of President Kennedy speaking. And just as he finished his speech, which we'll say was 8:10 or 8:15, they broke in with a newscast that a riot had broken out on the campus of the University of Mississippi, and that at least one professor had been killed, and they mentioned Jim Silver's name. Not for certain, but thought maybe that was he. Well, that's what really got us on the campus that night, because there we were sitting in Jim's house, and so Bill Willis and Nolan Fortenberry and I started out, because the Silver's house was not real close to the middle of the campus. It was on campus. Anyway, we got just out to the road, headed to the road, and Dutch Silver, his wife, pulled up in the car and said, "Oh no, he's okay. That's a mistake. He's not." Said, "But he's staying out there. He wants to see if he can help stop it." So, well, the three of us went on to see if we could stop it, whatever we could do. And I don't think that was ever mentioned enough, but Bill Willis and Nolan Fortenberry, Jim Silver, we were all together out there. Now, Jim pulled out because somebody was coming after him pretty soon, and Nolan and but Nolan and Bill stayed and trying to support me as much as he could.